Welcome to the Legally Speaking podcast, powered by Kassoon Car. I'm your host, Rob Hanna. This week, I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Georgie Twigg, MBE. Georgie is an associate in the sports team at the law firm Bird & Bird in London. Prior to this, Georgie had a highly successful hockey sporting career playing as a midfielder for England and Great Britain from 2010 to 2016. In that time, Georgie achieved so much, including a gold medal at the Rio 2016 Summer Olympics, a gold at the 2015 European Championships, a silver at the 2014 Glasgow Commonwealth Games, silver with Great Britain at the 2012 Champions Trophy in Argentina, bronze with England in the 2010 Commonwealth Games in Delhi, scoring the winning goal in the bronze medal match, bronze medal with England in 2010 Argentina World Cup, bronze medal at 2012 Summer Olympics, and she was also named England's Hockey Young Performance Player in 2010, 2011, 2012 and 2013, and made her international debut in 2010 Champions Trophy and was the youngest player in GB 2012 Olympic squad. So that is a hell of an introduction. So a very big welcome, Georgie.
Hi there. Wow. How do I follow that?
Just suck it all up. Take it all in. Take it all in. I bet that felt very, very good listening to all of your achievements today. But before we go through all of your amazing sporting achievements and what you're achieving in the legal world nowadays, we must start with our customary open question on the Legally Speaking podcast, which is, on the scale of 1 to 10, 10 being very real, how real would you rate the hit series Suits in terms of its reality on the scale of 1 to 10?
I'd probably say about 4 in terms of my experience. So fairly low.
Yeah, I think a lot of people that are practicing the law say, look, this is Hollywood, but it's rarely getting above 5 these days. So I think 4 is a is a fair score. So look, you have achieved so much throughout your career, but let's start at the beginning. Tell us a bit about your family background and upbringing first.
Yeah, I mean, I was very lucky and to have a really supportive family and a very sporty family. So, it was kind of every single day after school doing some different kind of sporting activity and parents acting as a taxi service. So I grew up in Lincolnshire. And yeah, as I said, I kind of played a whole variety of sports. So it wasn't hockey in particular at first. I just loved being active and I'm a very competitive person. So I loved sport and particularly team sports. So yeah, that's kind of where it all started.
Okay, and just talk us through a bit of your sporting career before moving into the law. Did you always want to be a hockey athlete? You mentioned that you did lots of different sports.
I went off to Repton School at 13 and I started to get really into hockey then. And we had an ex-GB player as our coach. And that's kind of where my focus turned towards hockey. And I had to stop playing netball because I played club at the weekends, which was in the term when you normally play netball. And then, yeah, it kind of escalated from there, really. I got into the England under-16s and then kind of progressed through the age groups at the junior international level. And I think, there's always that pipe dream of going to an Olympic Games, but it always feels very, very far off. And if I'm honest, I think I probably never thought I was quite good enough to make it. So it didn't really start to become a real, target until I kind of trialed with the seniors in 2010. And that's when I sort of started to realize that, actually, maybe this could happen.
Yeah, no. And are you just being modest there that you thought it would never happen? You said you felt you're never good enough. I mean, what kind of made you have those doubts?
Well, no, it really was true. I think I'm not particularly fast, and the game has got faster and faster. So I think I always worried that would hold me back. But thankfully, I kind of managed to sort of get myself well placed in the midfield and kind of use my skills in a different way, rather than relying on pure raw speed, which obviously a lot of our forwards do. But yeah, no, so I really, honestly didn't think that I really, really could go all the way. And it kind of wasn't until I was in the senior squad training towards 2012 that I thought, actually, I could do this.
Yeah. And tell us about then some of your highlights from playing in an Olympic Games and World Cups. I mean, they're fantastic achievements. So tell us about some of your highlights from the Olympic Games.
I mean, obviously, Rio was unbelievable in terms of winning the gold medal. But I must say that London 2012 was just the most incredible experience. For me, it was obviously my first Olympic Games, but competing on a home stadium, in front of a packed crowd full of British fans was just something that I will never, ever forget. I mean, I still get goosebumps now thinking about stepping out onto that pitch for the first game. And I remember my heart was pounding so hard. But it was just, it was unbelievable. And obviously, to come away with a medal and stand on a podium in your own country was just incredible. But, for me, generally, when I was an athlete, I loved the tournaments. As I said, I'm competitive. So the training was okay. It was a bit of a grind at times. And, we got worked very, very hard by our coaches. But the reason I did all that was because I just loved the buzz and thrill of playing in high level matches and tournaments and that sort of competitive edge that comes with being part of a team in a tournament. And particularly playing in countries like Holland and Argentina was amazing because they have such a big hockey following. So the World Cup in 2010 in Argentina, I remember we played Argentina in one of the group games, and I kid you not, the stands were shaking because the fans were jumping up and down and way more outgoing than the British fans can be sometimes. But it was amazing just to be a part of that and that atmosphere.
Wow, yeah, it must just be absolutely incredible. And I love the fact that you kind of relate back to the London as well, because I was actually got tickets to see quite a lot of the games. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see you guys, but I just loved every minute of those games on the home turf. It must have been amazing, just kind of lifting a medal and getting on the podium for that. And how does it feel to have MBE next to your name?
Yeah, it's a bit surreal, to be honest. And I don't use it all the time. But I mean, it was a really, really special moment. And I think particularly for me, it was because we were able to take our family. And, a lot of the celebrations after Rio was with the team and in London, attending various events. But going to Buckingham Palace and being able to take my parents with me, who had been through that whole journey, the ups and downs of being an athlete and selections and injuries. And they were out in Rio for the whole 2 weeks as well. So, for them to come and be part of that and, come into the palace was amazing. And that's what made it really, really special.
That's brilliant. Did the Queen give you your medal?
And Prince William. And it was nice, actually, because Prince William and Kate had been to a training session of ours in 2012. And because Duchess of Cambridge used to play hockey at school, so she's quite a fan of hockey. So it was really nice that he gave it to me, and he even sort of said a few words about watching the game and stuff. So that was really nice.
Yeah. And just on then, as a sort of athlete commission member for the British Olympic Association, tell us more about that sort of responsibility and what it sort of involves.
I think it's really important nowadays that sort of governing bodies, sporting organisations and federations are connected with their athletes, and, athletes' voices are heard. And I think previously there's been that gap there. I've really enjoyed being part of the BOA's Athlete Commission group. We meet quarterly and we sort of act as that go-between between the BOA and the athletes. And obviously it's a challenge sometimes trying to reflect all athletes' opinions, but, it's been a really, really interesting role and something, that I've really enjoyed and hope to continue, and hope we can still, make an impact with it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we could talk for sport for hours, but we must kind of transition over to your sort of more day-to-day now. So let's start at the beginning with that. What sparked your interest in wanting to transition into the law following your sporting career?
Well, it's a bit corny. My first sort of interest in law came at school when I was studying Cicero in my Latin class, and it just sort of piqued a real interest. So from there, I kind of sought out doing work experience, speaking to solicitors and barristers, and that's when I kind of decided that I wanted to study law. So I went off to Bristol University, studying law there. And that's kind of whilst I was there, I applied for training contracts and was lucky enough to get one with Bird and Bird. But obviously, as you may know, luck may have it, at that point, whilst I was at university, I got asked to go and train with the GB team that were training full time towards 2012. And I had 2 years left of my law degree, 1 year left, of my law degree. So obviously this is quite a difficult dilemma because the girls are training full time at Bisham Abbey. And I wanted to finish my law degree because I knew that it was important. Hockey was never going to last forever. And obviously setting myself up for afterwards was very important to me. So Bristol University were absolutely fantastic. They allowed me to split my final year over 2 years, recording all of my lectures and tutorials and seminars, which I know now is a given during the current crisis, but back then just wasn't done. So I'd be at Bisham training Monday to Thursday and would just go back to the university on a Friday and just do everything else remotely. So I was very lucky that I was able to then complete my degree in 2012. And throughout that, obviously, I had to keep Bird and Bird informed. I then did my LPC after university for a year. And then I decided that actually I wanted to pursue going on to Rio. So I went in and spoke to Bird and Bird, and they were fantastic. They were very happy for me to defer my start date for my training contract. And so they allowed me to defer it until September 2016, which was just amazing because it took the pressure off whilst I was training full time about worrying what I was going to do after, which I know is obviously a very difficult thing for athletes when they transition out of a full-time sporting career. So I was very lucky that the university and Bird and Bird were so supportive of that.
Yeah, no, and that's great. And it's amazing how you managed to manage it all. But was it hard? I mean, it all sounds like it, that sounds great, but I can imagine it was pretty difficult along the way, trying to kind of engineer all of those moves.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't easy at all at times. But I think for me, it was the hockey gave me a structure. So I kind of knew when I needed to work and when I needed to revise. And I couldn't afford to kind of dawdle and waste time. And I probably ended up getting things done in advance rather than waiting until the last minute just because I couldn't because of hockey. So I think the two did help one another. And I think also the hockey can be very intense, and with selection and training and tournaments can be so intense. So actually having that escape out of it with going back to Bristol and studying, that kind of gave me a balance between the two. But yes, I'm not going to lie, I remember revising for my last exam 2 weeks before Olympic selection, and that was certainly difficult to concentrate.
Yeah, I can imagine just a bit. So, and then fast forward, you did get onto the training contract with Bird and Bird, and as a trainee, you completed a secondment with the FA within their legal and governance team. Do you want to tell us a bit more about that experience?
Yeah, no, it was a great experience. We're very lucky that I had the opportunity to do my sports seat with 3 months at the FA and 3 months within the sports team at Bird and Bird. And, it's really interesting to go and see it from the client side. And obviously being, a love for sport, it was great being involved in the FA, seeing how everything is run. The legal team is huge, and there's obviously various different sections for, on-field disputes and safeguarding. So it was great to get involved in all various different aspects of the organisation, and then also learn, from a client's point of view, what they are wanting from their legal counsel. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And you mentioned you obviously managed to get a training contract with Bird and Bird. Obviously, Bird and Bird are very well known in the sports law world generally. But yeah, why did you personally choose Bird and Bird, and were you considering other firms as well?
Obviously, as you said, the sports law reputation drew me there initially. So obviously, it was natural that I kind of looked into them when I was at university. But the main thing really is the culture that the firm has, and it's something that I still feel very lucky to be at a firm that has such a fantastic culture, and they really do care about your life and what's going on outside of work. And I think that's visible to people outside of the firm, and it certainly was to me when I was applying. So it was certainly my first choice, and I was very lucky that I managed to get it.
Yeah, well, congratulations again. And so tell us more then about Georgie day to day now. So tell us more about your day-to-day practice as a sports lawyer.
So our sports law team at Bird and Bird is split into two. So we have the commercial side and the regulatory side, and I sit on the commercial side. We kind of work across a broad range of things, but for example, sponsorship agreements, broadcast contracts, media rights. We're very lucky. We've got some amazing clients. We tend to work more on the governing bodies, clubs, federations side rather than the actual individual athletes. And it's been fascinating to get involved in work with such interesting clients. And I'm very lucky to be part of such a great team.
Yeah, and sports law probably sounds very exciting to many of our listeners listening in, and rightly so. But what do you most enjoy about your sports law practice?
I think for me, it's the clients and the subject matter of what you're doing. So, as someone who is passionate about sport and obviously have the background with it, it's being able to relate to your clients and understand the kind of the problems that they're experiencing, and that's what's been really interesting for me. And sort of seeing it from an athlete's perspective, but also because I have got a genuine interest in what they're doing. And that's what I'd say to anyone in law, just when you're a trainee and you're deciding what area of law you want to go into, it makes life so much easier and makes your day job much more enjoyable if you are genuinely interested in what you're working on and the clients that you're working with.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think because you are invested and there's a lot of hard work and a lot of hours that go into it, I think that's a really good tip for lawyers thinking about sort of getting into areas that they probably should be passionate about. Do you think coming from your sporting background that's helped you in your legal career? And if so, why?
That's a tricky one. I think, obviously my sporting background helps in terms of my interest and knowledge in the sporting world. I think it potentially assists in terms of the relationship with clients and building relationships with clients when you've kind of got first-hand experience. But I think, I'm not naive to the fact that that's probably as far as it goes. And, I'm still learning as a lawyer. And I know that there's a huge amount that it probably has no impact on the fact, that I've got a sporting background. But I think it certainly helps in terms of the industry that I'm working in.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And that's good for you to be quite open and transparent around that. And you've obviously achieved the highest pinnacle in sport, and perhaps nothing does quite compare to winning a gold medal. But what would you say has been your greatest legal achievement or experience today that you look back on very proudly?
Oh, gosh. Well, I mean, to be fair, I think probably completing my training contract and securing a spot in the sports team. So I think knowing and getting offered that job in the sports team was definitely the highlight so far.
Yeah, I understand you do still play hockey. So where do you tend to play nowadays, and what does that look like?
Yeah, so I still play at my club at Surbiton Hockey Club. So I'm very lucky that I'm still able to do that. Quite often late for training midweek, running out of the office. But I think it's been really important to me still being able to do that, and obviously have matches at the weekends. And it gives me, as I said before, like a nice balance between work and still being able to play. And I still get to play with some of the girls that are in the current squad. So yeah, so I don't think I've lost it just yet.
Good stuff. Never lose it. Talent never fades.
Let's hope.
What advice would you give to maybe aspirational lawyers, given your unique journey into the law?
I think, as I said earlier, sort of pursuing what you're interested in, because as you said, your work, and particularly being a lawyer, can end up taking up so much of your time. And if you're not genuinely interested and passionate in what you're doing, then you're not going to be as invested in it and want to work as hard for the clients. So definitely for me, it would be pursuing something that you're genuinely interested in.
Yeah. And in terms of away from hockey and away from the law, what do you tend to do for downtime? You mentioned obviously Edinburgh's got a great culture, but yeah, what do you tend to get up to for downtime?
As probably a lot of people, it's seeing friends, seeing family, being active. I like reading. So nothing majorly different. I love cooking. So it's been nice, particularly having a bit more time during lockdown to do a bit more cooking, because obviously normally midweek it's quite difficult to do that. So normal things as most people like to do.
And in terms of your career, as I mentioned, you hit the pinnacle of gold medals in the hockey world. What for legal? Do you see yourself wishing to be a partner one day in a law firm, or what are you sort of striving for from your legal side of things?
Do you know what? I think it's quite hard to tell at the moment. I think I still feel very much in the early stages of my career. So for me right now, in terms of sort of setting goals, it's just sort of keep developing my legal knowledge, sort of climbing up the ladder, and hopefully keep improving, And I think probably I haven't really set that long-term goal just yet, just because I kind of feel like I'm still in the early stages of my career.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, from our side, Georgie, we've really enjoyed having you on. I think sort of talking through your journey and what you've achieved from a sporting and now transitioning into the legal sector and doing so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Congratulations on all of your sort of successes to date. We wish you lots of continued success in your legal career, and we'll perhaps no doubt see you feature again on the podcast in the near future. But from our side, thank you very much.
Oh, well, thank you. And thank you for having me. It's been great.